And that's why I'm actually enthused at the moment. For as crazy as everything seems, what I'm realizing is there are bridges to be built everywhere right now. There are liberals, good old-fashioned liberals, talking to conservatives for the first time in a long time. There are evangelicals that are saying maybe we made some mistakes in the past on some of the social issues, or at least didn't uphold the beliefs that we say we have.
Didn't love one another.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. And they're saying, I mean, I go to evangelical events all the time now, and I talk about all our disagreements, and I get standing ovations. Try to imagine that situation on the other side, where I can't get invited to a progressive thing, even if I was to tell.
I was just thinking about some of the places
I could get invited to be hung, maybe, you know. But that's about it. Yeah, and that really shows you that through the tumult that we're really going through right now, the reason I'm hopeful is because there is fertile ground. There is really fertile ground for people to build bridges, and those are the people that I'm really focused on. And I think the more that we do that, the more that we live up to the things that we say we're about, the more good work we can do. And that's what's so cool about meeting people all over the world that are going, whoa, it's happening here in Australia, it's happening here in the United States, it's happening all over the place. Let's find each other.
That's I agree with that. And it's happening. And that's terrific. And we're getting a level of dialogue now that's really exciting. And my humble little attempt at contributing to that is through this website.
But you're doing it. It's not humble and little. It's not. You're actually doing it. When I did the event with Jordan that you guys set up in Sydney, you could feel it in the room that people are starved. If it's so funny because just talking about freedom or free speech or decency, this is not magic. This is not rocket science. This isn't brain surgery. And yet, when I walked into that room and we started talking, and of course there's a magic to Jordan. There's now a star power to Jordan. So people are sort of like, you know, it's sort of like seeing a rock star. But it really wasn't just about that. It was that we were up there really defending the very things that allow people to live their lives the way they want to. I don't want to force anyone to live their life any way than they want to. They can't come on my property and take things from me or force me to do anything. But I want my neighbor on this side and my neighbor on this side. I actually don't care what their beliefs are per se, as long as it's not infringing on my rights or someone else's rights. And that's how most people want to live. But it just takes a little more time to sell that message rather than to say, oh, the state can fix everything. We're going to give you everything. It just sounds a lot easier. You know what I mean? The 1% are bad. I'm not interested in who's bad. I'm interested in how do we free as many people as possible.
Yeah, well, our theme is...
So don't be so humble, my friend. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's very kind of you. You've puffed me up. I won't be able to get out of your door. But what we're about is this idea that you cannot get good public policy out of a bad debate, because I had a political background. And I see the debate as being, it's not a debate. It's a motive. It lacks analysis. There's no commitment to evidence. Now, here's a question I want to ask you, because you've referred obliquely to the importance of the great political strands of thinking in our culture. And, you know, I think I would have said 15 years ago, oh, maybe we don't have to worry about that too much. Democracy's won out. We all know we have to debate things well and we can move forward. Actually, I think the framework from which you view the world is important. And one little area where I would actually sort of say, I actually do care a little bit about what my neighbours think. I'm actually interested in them. And I think I have a responsibility to be interested in them. And I want to be able to interact with them.
Right.
And you wouldn't argue with that, I don't think.
No. So of course I meant that in sort of more a granular way, in that they can do what they want in their house.
You respect their rights.
But of course I want to have that exchange all the time, of course.
But I think here's a really interesting thing that I've been thinking about. The great political strands of thinking have broken down, so you don't have a sensible framework from which you can, if you like, engage with others on the basis of respect. So I find if I look at classic democratic socialism, Christian socialism in Australia, the old style Labor Party, I find that I have to accept that their vision was a noble one. It was almost the Martin Luther thing. It was, there are people out there who are not getting a fair go. They're oppressed, they're underpaid, whatever, marginalised because of their skin. Let's bring them into the family of humanity as full citizens. It wasn't elevate them to a new victimhood. It was a noble view. So having accepted that their objectives are not evil, I can then vigorously debate what I thought were the stupidity of their policy approaches.
Well, you did right there the most important work. The most important work is to realize that the people that are your ideological opponents are not necessarily evil. That's not to say there aren't...
That's the point.
That's not to say there aren't evil people, and it's certainly not to say there aren't evil ideas, because of course there are.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you live in the West, and I can certainly say this from an American perspective, 95% of the political debate, I think, is being had with people that have good intentions. Are there bad guys on both sides? For sure. Are there plenty of people who disagree with all sorts of things that I believe? Absolutely. But what you did there, that move from these are my opponents, I've got to destroy them, or that they're evil, if you remove that from the equation, then you can start going, then you can get to that place where if you can get them to sit down with you, which by the way is difficult, but if you can get them to do it, it's become difficult, right? So that's always really interesting to me. Whenever I talk to somebody that's been in this game longer than I have, which you have, it's like I have now become relevant in a time where having that conversation has been incredibly difficult, but it wasn't always like that. And that's why I like talking to people like you, because it's like there are lessons to be learned that have happened before me.
We'll come to that.
Yeah, and I want to play in that area because I don't think I can just invent the future. I didn't start conversation. I happen to have conversation in these rooms, but people were having conversation before this, and there's things to learn from the people before you. And I want to. It's look, people care about what I say and the conversations that I have, so I want to treat that with the same respect that I would want to treat the world that I want to help be part of. Not that I want to create, but I want to be part of. And it'll always be the challenge, I think, for people like us to deal with people that may be a little angrier than us, to deal with people that won't give us that extra inch or that may think we're evil. And, how do we not fall trap to it? I don't know exactly what the answer is to that.
Thank you for watching this episode. We appreciate your support. If you value vital conversations like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel there and also click the notification bell to stay up to date with new releases.